everything's fine until it's a bit weird. This, because again, there's good Wi-Fi. There's good Wi-Fi. Got Wi-Fi router. Well, let's struggle on and see if this works. So I want to do something a bit different, a bit of a different subject. I've been driving around UK. Not the extent of the whole thing, right up to Scotland or anything. But I have driven a fair bit around, and I've been using Starbucks and Costa. I've been using pubs. I've been using them for Wi-Fi. And I've noticed this. I've noticed things like, let's talk about just the economic model of Wetherspoons and another place. I'm sorry, I've forgotten the village, but I was at a few months ago. Well, really tail end of last summer, and so that was near when I went to the David's Tent last year. It's a village near there, and but it's the same sort of idea as Wetherspoons. Now, Wetherspoons works as a meeting point because it doesn't rely on drinks and it doesn't rely on food, and it's genius because they're simple foods at a fair price, well, more than fair price in some cases, compared with the other pubs in England. And the drinks, alcoholic or non-alcoholic, well, the alcoholic ones are only £3.50, and that now is very rare. Most pubs now, if they have posh eateries as well, they're easily £5 or even £6 a pint. Now, the surroundings of those better quality pubs might be what you want. Quieter, maybe, very nice surroundings, and not maybe packed out with people, and that may be why you like them. Or they just have very nice chairs outside in the sunshine during the summer months. So I'm not knocking them either, but I'm just saying that the genius model of Wetherspoons and what was really a converted barn or piggery or something, I don't know, on a farm. Let's talk about that because it's become a hub of the community. Here's the funny thing. On a Friday and Saturday particularly, the local village is deserted because everybody is there, because it's reasonably priced. I think they were doing, very simple things like pizza, maybe some simple, what was it? Some simple pasta dish, something for £8 or £8.99 or something, which compared with, most pubs is unheard of now. It's 15, 19 quid. So, you've had a busy week. Maybe you're on a fair income. I think these villages are fairly well-to-do. And this is in Worcestershire, I think. Is it Worcestershire? Somewhere around there. And they're buzzing. They're buzzing. And I was in a place called Demi Queen, is it? In Waterlooville. Again, doing laptop stuff. But the atmosphere was great. It was just great. People chatting happily about all different kind of projects or meeting friends or whatever. Usual stuff you get at Wetherspoons. But the atmosphere, particularly on that evening, was just wonderful. It is interesting, is it not? So going back onto the Christian thing of the post-evangelical writer Dave Tomlinson. Now, he used to be an apostle. Probably still is an apostle, but he was what I would now call a second-level apostle. A second-level apostle is someone who preaches the American two-level gospel, which is being born again properly and being baptized in the Spirit. Of course, being baptized in water. And then you start learning the gifts of the Spirit and worship and all these things, you start experimenting with the spiritual gifts, but always there's still the carnal solo pastor. By carnal, I don't mean he is necessarily carnal, but it's still at that carnal stage where we're reliant on one human, or as Paul puts it, I am of, and he lists Apollos, Peter, and himself. And so, but it is interesting, is it not, that all those years ago, we're talking 36 years ago, the Post-Evangelical was written by this former Jesus Move apostle who in his teens, well, to be fair, I was doing some of that. My wife was doing some of that, getting people born again and baptized in the Spirit. But he had this organizational quality that meant he was, establishing house churches properly. Good house churches, which then grew into, what we see now in towns. But it's second level. It's still second level, isn't it? Third level church is like Acts, which is totally different. It's got 12 broken men who can actually minister together without fighting for top dog. So, just to mention again, our 15 miles away from here, I'll get back to the pubs and things in a minute, but just 15 miles away from here is one of the first third level churches, or churches with third level vision and preaching in Britain, called Fisher's Pond. It was at Colden Common, which is just outside Southampton, and it was called Fowlis Court. It was a big house, and they had ever so many people living there, and two sets of friends of mine, one from where I grew up, and one from someone we met at university in Exeter. And they just fought for this top position. And it is interesting, as I mentioned the other day, Sam Fife, the leader of The Move, which was the third level teaching move, died in his own aircraft. Graham Porkingham died in some kind of shootout in a 7-Eleven store in America. But both of them seemed unable to relinquish their top dog position. And we have to do that in the third level. Why? Simply because by now, I say this as if I'm an expert, by now, this is what we should be going into, we should have a single eye. We can see what's happening next. We can see the Father and what he's doing. Why do we need a string puller? Why do we need an alpha male, Matthew type, which everyone looks to and the women go Google-eyed over, to run a church? We don't need that. We've got the Holy Spirit. He's real. He's genuine. He's live. Again, I can't really tell you what's going on in these last 2 weeks. But they're Melchizedek-y things. Nothing to do with me. But it's like word of knowledge where people see what the other people are doing. And they're in totally different countries. I've never known anything like it. In these 2 weeks, I've never known anything like it. It's so weird. Well, it's weird by our natural standards. But this is what we're coming into. It's not Kathy Walters this time. And one of them's just been converted. She was, to say the least, highly dangerous. The first we were hearing of her, but she's now converted and she's just been baptized in water. She's going to be a mover and shaker for God. I can't tell you any details. It's too dangerous for them. But what, I mean, that's a shock, because I've been talking about third level and single life for ages, but I didn't sort of think it, one aspect would be quite like this. Everybody knows what's going on just as it's going on. And I'm sort of in the middle texting everybody, confirming it. It's hilarious. So the Post-Evangelical, 36 years ago, had this guy, and he was starting pub meetings. And I think a lot of, particularly the northern church leaders who've got pig sick of not reaching people properly. And I would say they'll have a strong marked quartile, which isn't always good. It isn't always good because they know how to relate in the flesh as well. But it's a definite thing. But also, you know, if we look at the pubs and how they've changed in our lifetime, they did induce alcoholism. They did induce real problems. My wife's own father was in that, you know, and it was an atmosphere induced by Bacchus, the Principality of Bacchus. Now, you don't really see drunks because there are more restaurants and family friendly as well. But how good it is, this model where the food is reasonable and it counterbalances the drinks, which can also be reasonable. And as I say, you don't have to be alcoholic. You can have elder flower cordial. That's what I do. Sometimes I like my cider. Have a bit of cider. But isn't it the case that it's all just softening up, ready for communication, open communication? And I was in the Denmead Queen, or whatever it's called, at Waterloo, and I was listening to a conversation at the other table, and I also felt free not to have anything to do with it. My thing has always been to butt in, and that needs to go to the cross. So I was free to just let it happen. You know, it's on the other table. They were talking about Jesus. They were talking about testimony. Just a normal conversation of two people over the table. You know, the atmosphere is changing. But if there's any entrepreneurs out there, let's talk again about this barn place, this piggy place that's converted into, you know, a long bar up the whole length of the building. And I think that's the one, obviously, that would get used more in the winter, and then have very strong heating, and flame, you know, some nice fire with flames, and it's all very nice. But in the summer, outside they have a serving area and long tables. And everyone just enjoys sitting at these long tables. Most pubs, they have different sizes of tables, but it's understood that, you know, the slightly longer ones, a family will sit around. Well, not so in this other place that's heaving, and everybody's really enjoying it, and the village itself is empty because everybody's up in this place. Long tables where everyone is chatting and they're having these pizzas or, you know, simple pasta dish or whatever, and drinks, and they're chatting away, and there's music going on as well, and you know, it's just so good. It's so good compared with what I grew up with. You know, they were just hormone-inducing places, weren't they? When we were growing up, people getting drunk. People getting prepared to have sex without marriage, you know, and just clubbing, or, you know, but it's much more conducive to just chatting freely, with all and sundry about what's really going on, what do people think about it. So it's just so good. What do you all think? Are you getting this in some of your countries? You know, are all the nations changing like this more? Because we've all had the COVID experience, haven't we? And it's caused major questions about, can we trust these governments that are coming out with such guff and just lies? So, a major thing, I'll just end this really with a major thing that happened to me in the 90s. See, I'm fourth quartile. If you know, I've told people over again, I'm kind of a John personality, St. John type personality, but I'm Lukish as well. And I'm able to disguise my John weirdness with a Luke front. Now, most fourth quartiles can't do that. And they're just evidently weird. And I was brought up also by two physics teachers who are kind of Marky Luke people. They were at the opposite end of the spectrum to me, which caused problems. But something happened in the 1990s, do you not think, when the brain research that we now realise was largely CIA and military induced, but nevertheless, the brain research started to come out from the 60s. And, this is when we started to have books on the left brain and the right brain. And it just explained so much. And now I could legitimately say to people, who would find me really weird and whatever, I say, it's not weird. Just some people are more left brain, some people are more right brain, and people understand that now. So for me, it was a great doorway, You've got two problems, haven't you, being fourth quartile? You've got problem number one, getting people to realise there is a realm outside five senses. And, there are realms of vision, spirituality, dreams, all this kind of stuff. And problem number two was having established that to push further and say it's not just about being Hindu or being New Age. This is about the Lord Jesus Christ, who has taken over the rule of this place. Doesn't look it, and the reason it doesn't look it is because of the way he works backwards with those who are not hungry for him, with those who will not obey the seeking after the Lord, the loving of the Lord and other people, which is commandments 1 and 2. It's not like they don't stand a chance, but God kind of works reverse, and says, okay, have it your own way. Experience life in its raw terms. Or if you read Proverbs 1, with wisdom in various forms is crying out to us at all angles. And if we still won't listen, then we will experience a crash so enormous that truth itself appears to be laughing at us. Doesn't supply any help at this stage, just with its hands on its hips, it's just laughing at us, maybe for months, days, months, whatever. That's what Proverbs 1 says. So people just have to learn the hard way. Okay, you do 250 years of godlessness, believing in the stupid atheist doctrine of five senses only, like Richard Dawkins and Yuval Harari. You go that way. But you are actually fulfilling the Bible, every phrase in the Bible, with you not knowing you're doing it. By living our own, because there is only two ways spiritually. There may be other ways in our soul, maybe grey areas in our soul, but spiritually there's two ways. The spirit of folly and the spirit of Jesus Christ and wisdom and holiness. That's it. So if we're going to go the way of folly, Jesus, his way of ruling is, be my guest. You're an idiot. You can find out you're idiots yourselves. And everybody can find out with you, looking at you, how idiotic you are. So, in this atmosphere of change and transition, you can see the prophecies of the Lord being brought forth. And it isn't all bad news. There's some good things happening, very interesting things. Like in the last 2 weeks, which I can't tell you about. God bless everybody. God bless.